In this lecture, we'll be setting up our project and learning about the area 2D shape, the area 2D node and the collision shape node. So let's create a new project. We will browse and stick this in Kickstarter projects. Select current folder. We'll name this Piggy, and we'll do create folder, and then create and edit. We'll switch to a 2D scene. We'll create a new custom node. We'll just do the base node again. We'll call this world. We're going to add a background using the color rect node again. Set its layout to full rect and make it black. I'll name that background and then lock the node so that we don't ever accidentally select it. Okay, let's start by creating our pig character. We'll want to import in the sprites again, like we did in the previous section. So let's click on import. We're going to click on our icon again, come to preset, do 2D pixel, and then set as default for texture. Now we can import in these assets. I've got mine saved to the desktop. You'll be able to download yours. There's just two. Nothing too fancy here. Come into Piggy, paste those in, the apple and the pig. And those should be imported in properly so that they're not blurry. And that looks like that's the case. We'll delete that. Now we will we'll create a new node here. And this is where we're going to learn about the area 2D node. Right here. So this area 2D node will represent our pig. We'll call it Piggy. Well, just call it pig. Okay. And it's created up here. And you can see we're getting a warning sign here. It says, node configuration warning. This node has no shape, so it can't collide or interact with other objects. Consider adding a collision shape 2D or a collision polygon 2D as a child to define its shape. So we'll be doing that. The area 2D node is used when you want to detect an overlap between two entities or objects in your game. And so later we'll be learning about other collision type nodes like the kinematic body node, the rigid body, the static body. Those are all important nodes to learn about as well, but they're for games that need to have a collision where one entity or object stops the other one. For this, we don't need that. All we need is to detect whether our character has overlapped another object. And that's when you'll want to use the area 2D node. So let's add a child. We'll do a sprite. And we'll drag our pig texture over and drop it into the texture property for our sprite node. You can see this has 3 frames in it, and we're going to be using these to animate the pig. But for now, we don't want to show all 3 frames, so we can come over here to the animation property, and we can tell it how many V frames or H frames are here. Now we have no vertical frames because you can see there are no frames down this direction, but we have 1, 2, 3 H frames. So you can see we can add 1 and add another one and we get to 3 H frames, and now it only shows this frame. And if we change the frame we're on, it will actually animate the pig. You can see that. But we'll just leave it on this frame for now. I do want to give our pig a little bit of an offset because this is currently the center right here. So we're going to, well, we can offset the sprite node actually. Or we can just offset the sprite. I don't think it really matters much. We'll just offset, we'll change the offset value on the sprite node to be -4, and that should give us a nice little offset for our pig character. Now we need to add that collision shape. So we're going to click on our area 2D. We're going to click the plus and search collision shape. We want to do a collision shape 2D, so we'll click this right here, collision shape 2D. Double click on it. Now we've created a collision shape, but it's got an error message too, and it says a shape must be provided for collision shape 2D to function. Please create a shape resource for it. So we need to create a shape that this node can use. And over here, you can see we have a shape property. We can choose a shape to use here if we click on this. And we can do, for this little pig, we'll do a capsule shape 2D. There's obviously a lot of different shapes that you can use depending on what you're trying to make. And you could even use a collision polygon 2D to create a polygon shape. But capsule should work really good for this. Once we create it, we can click on it and see the properties of the shape here. And we want to actually rotate our collision shape here. I'm just going to remove the shape 2D off this and just call it collision. So our pig object sort of has a sprite and a collision attached to it. So our collision will come down to the transform, and we will rotate it by 90 degrees. And then once you've done that, you can actually grab these little dots here to form your shape and get it just how you want it. I'm going to do mine about like that. And then over here, I'm probably going to update these. 6 and 7. Yeah, let's do 6 and 7. Just so that they're not decimal values anymore. And now we have a pig that we've created. And so this area 2D will have logic inside of it for detecting whether something has collided with it. However, that logic will only work if we have a collision node attached to it with a collision shape as well. So it's important that we have the shape, the collision node, and the area 2D. There's 3 parts to it. 3 parts that we have to have in order to detect a collision. And it will use this shape to detect collisions. So if I've got an apple right here, it added it to the collision. Let's put it in the world. If I've got it's annoying that it rotated it. It rotated it because it was a child of collision. So click on world, drag an apple right here. If I've got an apple right here, it won't be able to detect an overlap because this apple will not be overlapping the collision. Even if it's touching the ear right here, it has to overlap the collision shape, the shape right here. Oops. Control Z to undo that. Delete our apple. And then we can click on the pig and click on this right here to make sure we can't edit the children. And we can easily move the pig around in our world without moving the shape. And we're going to save this scene as world. Do save. Save the game. We'll run it. We'll select a default scene. We'll select the world scene. We've done this before in the previous one. And there we go. It's tiny because we haven't scaled up the pig, but we'll probably be setting up the project settings so that we can have the correct, we'll see whether we scale it or whether we set up the project settings. But that's it for this lecture. I'll see you guys in the next one, and I will talk to you later.